Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a good video. CodeStrap, who is a big guy in the Palantir community, just took a clip from Seattle Data Guy. Shout out to him. I'll put all of his stuff in the description. Who did an interview with an ex-Palantir employee. And in this clip, it's particularly talking about Palantir's inability or ineffectiveness, as we've sort of hypothesized about in the community, on their sales and their go-to-market strategy. So this is going to be a really interesting clip. I definitely wanted to do a reaction to it, give it my thoughts. Thank you, CodeStrap, for actually taking this clip out of the entire interview. I would highly recommend watching the entire interview as well. I'll leave it in my description. It's a really good piece of content created by Seattle Data Guy and talks about a lot of different things in that interview. This clip particularly is going to be discussing their sales problems, why their sales are not that amazing, and then I will give my thoughts. So we're going to watch the clip. It's about 3 minutes. It's a great clip, and then we will discuss more in depth.
All right. Well, on that, just because we're talking about like Palantir, and like this has me thinking in terms of like Palantir. Why is it so hard to adopt? So I don't. The dash. What holds Palantir back from becoming kind of mass market?
There's two things, and they're not unrelated, but I think there's an innovator's dilemma thing a little bit with Palantir, where we had a really good business that predated me on going and selling multi-million-dollar contracts to the government. And we had a really good business in the commercial space, selling these really big deals to customers where we were deploying software, but also a lot of humans to go build things and custom build things. And, you know, we kind of started getting these price tags around what we were doing, and well-deserved, because the software was really good and we were able to provide a lot of value. But I think when you're, you know, it's all public information, and I've been gone for like 4 years now, so I don't really know anything privileged anyway, but like it's all public information. If you look, like, they don't have a lot of customers, but their customers pay them, you know, a ton of money.
Yeah.
And when you have that, I think it's really hard to like layer onto that a business where you're going to go sell like pay go self-serve. Like, you can roll up right now to Snowflake and just click start using it without talking to a salesperson, much less have to have a team of 4 deployed engineers show up on site. Like, and I think it's kind of an innovator's dilemma thing a little bit of like, you have a business thing that works and you don't want to disrupt it. And like, I think if they offered a more mass market or self-serve or SaaS-y type version, there's nothing technically holding them back. Like, Foundry is completely capable of being deployed multi-tenant. Like, they could do it. They do it with the Foundry for Builders thing. I think the question is like, what does that do to, does it cannibalize or erode your ability to go monetize at the level you do with these bigger customers? Like, you know, if you have a pricing page that's like pay-go pricing that, you know, is like some reasonable number of dollars per compute unit or whatever, and then like you go to a Fortune 500 company and you're like, yeah, that'll be $15 million per month. Like, it's so it's not unsolvable, but I think that's kind of a core of it. The other thing is that it's built as one integrated system, and that's its strength, that everything works together. You're not cobbling a bunch of other tools together. You're buying one thing and it all works well together. And each of those pieces might not be the best. Like, there might be better products out there to do that specific thing, but because it all works together, that's such a strength. And that's one of the reasons the product Foundry is so incredible. I think the downside of that is it's not necessarily built to integrate well with other things. And a lot of companies won't want to just buy one thing. So they'll want it to integrate a lot of things. And so it can integrate. It's not, there are APIs and standards and stuff like that, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So those things together, I think, are kind of the thing that I've always felt prevented. And those are conscious choices. It's not, you know, there's trade-offs like that. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just, that's the reason it's not more mass market. That's the reason there's not like a SaaS version you can just roll up and buy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's almost why I had this question right after that retool, because I'm just like, oh, this is perfect, because retool, again, it's like, I think it's $10 a user.
And by the way, like, I don't begrudge retool for taking Slate, like the idea of Slate, and running with it. Like, I think that's sweet. Like, it's, if anything, it's like Palantir decided not to spin these things out or not to monetize them or not to sell them, and like, that's their prerogative. And it's cool to see these things go and work in the broad world, and we're doing some version of that, and retool is, and there's other people now that are doing their own things. So it's
All right, so that was the clip. Now, what he said there, I think, is not that controversial or different than a lot of stuff that we have been theorizing about in the community. The biggest issue here is the trade-offs that come with modularization. Now, it's weird, right? Because there's two things we have to think about here. Palantir said in their last earnings call that they have over 700 different products built within Foundry that could be standalone products on their own. I mean, they basically touted them as these are billion-dollar companies within one company, or billion-dollar products, and these products can be standalone products. And it's like, okay, then show us, the standalone products become standalone products. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually go take a modular version of this one thing in Foundry and then give it to the world. So if that's not happening, then you got to ask yourself a question, why, right? And I mean, it's obvious why it's not happening. It's because they feel there's something elusive, something important, something necessary, something unique to selling a thick product, especially when the revenue you can generate from selling that one thick product versus this mass market self-serving adoption is a lot more. And, it may take more time to sell and make more time to integrate, but maybe it keeps the integrity of the product sophisticated and sincere. I'm hypothesizing now, but I mean, they've said there's a lot of products within Foundry that could be their own products, but they've only really issued out, these thick oriented products. So either there's going to be two things happening in the future. We're going to get smaller versions of it. And in those smaller versions, a lot of regular companies that are not doing $100 million a year in revenue are going to be able to just self-serve like they can do on Snowflake and immediately get integrated and start building out their data infrastructure. Or we are going to keep having a thick product because Palantir feels that the product is only going to grow and grow and grow to bigger and bigger clients. And that's going to make up the bulk of the revenue, even if they don't modularize. And the lack of modularization is not going to trade off with their ability to grow. I don't know what's going to happen. In my personal opinion, I would want more modularization. I would want a basic restaurant that does $2 million a year that needs to know, their supply chain and logistics to be able to just integrate Foundry in one click and then boom, they have an ontology they can use. Like, that would be cool. Now, if Palantir says, oh, our business is not for them, my argument would be why, right? Like, I get why, but I also don't think there can't be a really small version of it that you could give to that business, right? So, I don't know. I think they will modularize eventually. It seems like it's the obvious path to growth. It seems like it's the obvious path to scale. It's just a question of when they're going to be able to do it and how it's going to be able to happen. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Definitely check out the interview with Seattle Data Guy in the description. Phenomenal interview. Great stuff. Shout out to him for doing it. Shout out for CodeStrap for finding this clip. And thank you guys for listening and watching. See you in the next one.